All right, so today we're solving multi-step equations. The difference between today's lesson and yesterday's lesson is there's going to be more than one step to get x by itself, to get that variable by itself. All right, there's just a couple simple, all right, I tried to make it as like basic as I could while still getting my point across. That you add and subtract before you multiply and divide. That's really important. Whenever we're solving these equations, we add and subtract first. All right, I think in 7th grade, I think Ms. Vorpahl, did she give an example like they're best friends, they want to stay together as long as they can? Okay, type thing when you're solving those equations. And that's true, okay? So the number that's touching the variable, we solve that one last, okay? And then, of course, our ultimate goal is to isolate the variable. All right, so in example 1, we see an equation, 3x plus 15 equals 24. All right, you have a challenge in that we're solving these equations without using a calculator. So there might be a time here or there where you do some work off to the side, and that's okay, because you're sharpening your skills for those basic concepts that that need to be reviewed, because you're going to see those on, you know, your SAT, ACT test, okay? All right, so, but hopefully you can do some of this mental math as well. Not the actual steps for solving the equation, but the subtraction, okay? Does anybody think they know what would I do first, Connor?
Well, you do the variable last, so
Yep.
so it's plus 15, so you do the opposite, so you subtract 15 on both sides.
Perfect. I couldn't have said it better myself. Subtract 15 on both sides first, because this one's by itself. Now I bring down what's left. 3x equals, does anybody know what 24 minus 15 is? 24 minus 15, I heard it? 9. Okay. Now, an easy way to do this mental math, if you're struggling, you could bump 24 up to 25, okay? 25 minus 15 is 10, and then you could just take one away. All right, so that's kind of a mental math strategy to round them up to easy numbers to subtract, and then figure out what was the difference, okay? All right, so 3x equals 9, and now I'm on the home stretch. Divide both sides by 3, and x equals 3. All right, so a little more complicated than yesterday, but nothing crazy. Could I check this? Could I check this answer? How do I check?
3 times 3 plus 15.
Yes, very good. I need to plug it back in all the way to the original. 3 times 3 plus 15 equals 24. Is that true? 9 plus 15 equals 24?
Yes.
It sure is, okay? So if you have time on this quiz, the chapter 1 quiz and test, I would definitely try to check your equations. All right, I want you to do the second one on your own. When you're finished, compare your answer with your table group buddies, and we'll go over it in just a minute. Josh, what did you do first?
What I did first was I added 10 both sides.
Very good. What's not connected to the variable, okay? And then what did you do?
And then that left negative 2x equals 32.
Very good.
I know double negative can make a positive, so what I did was I divided 32 by negative 2, and then that was negative 16.
Very good. Divide both sides by negative 2. And x equals negative 16. Who agrees with him? Just raise your hand. Because you should. All right. Very good, guys. Good. All right. Doing okay on that? So that should be familiar. Okay. And we're just going to keep going. We're going to keep building on that. So here, what do we see? It starts with an F. You see? Fractions. All right. So just, again, building on what we learned yesterday about dealing with fractions, but do I do the fraction first? No, I need to move what's not connected to the variable first. So let's see, Deasia, how could I What would be my first step on this first equation?
Subtracting 3 from both.
Yeah, very good. Subtract 3 on both sides. Okay, and now I bring down that pesky little fraction. Okay, anybody have an idea? Want to raise your hand? How could I eliminate this fraction to the other side? Allie? Very good. So she's exactly right. Technically, I'm dividing by the fraction, but when I divide a fraction, I'm actually doing KFC. So I flip it, change the operation. And then, okay, so my answer is 18, right? So that's canceled.
Nope.
What did I forget, Connor?
Right to the other side.
Yeah, so whatever I multiply the left side by, I have to do the same thing to the right side. So 4/3. Okay, so here's, Nick, you see something?
You could cancel out and you could change the 18 to 6.
Yes.
And the 3 to 1.
You guys are sharp this morning. I mean, y'all could pretty much teach us. That's exactly what I was going to say. 18 times 4 is going to get kind of a big number, right? We might have to actually do that by hand. But if you catch the cross reducing, then that makes things a lot easier, just like Nick said. Okay, so what can I reduce it by? What factor can I reduce those numbers by? 3, right? So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 18 divided by 3 is 6. And now it's easy. 6 times 4.
24.
X equals 24. All right. Anybody get 24 first? I think Nick did. All right, Micah, good. Allie, good. Okay, guys, go ahead and do the second one. When you have the answer, raise your hand when you have your answer. Okay, so everybody together, what do I do first? Add 9. Okay, so add 9, and then I get 1/2 x equals negative 16. Okay, now what do I do to get rid of that fraction?
Change. Flip. Change.
Yes, very good. Multiply. Okay. All right, and x equals
Negative 30.
-30. So close too. I think you had 32.
Oh, I do got 32.
Yeah, you just said 36.
I see the 6.
Okay, very good. All right, so those are my 2 steps, fractions, and then just my whole numbers. And now we're going to talk about combining like terms. Okay, so we know that if a variable, okay, if it's the same variable, we can combine. Does anybody remember in a term that has a variable, what do I call the number part of it? Does anybody remember what I call it? Connor?
Exponent?
No.
Dividend.
Starts with a C.
Component.
No, good guess.
Coefficient.
Yes, coefficient. I call it the coefficient. So you're going to hear me say that word, okay? It's probably not a word that you use in normal, everyday talking to your friends, right? The coefficient. No, only math, okay? So it's a math term, all right? But when I have the same variable, I can combine the coefficients. Just pay attention to your sign. So that's a minus sign. So what's 8 minus 6?
2x.
2x, all right? So I'm going to combine that. That's the only thing different about this example is I'm going to see these like terms and I'm going to combine them. So 8x minus 6x is 2x, and now I can bring down the rest of the equation, and now I can solve it just like I was solving the ones in the last example. Okay? So Mason, what would I do next? What would be my...
25.
Very good. I need to add 25. And Kelsey, when I add 25 to 35, is that same sign or different on the other side? It's different, so I need to subtract them. What would you get? Yeah, you're right. It's 10. Is it going to be positive 10 or negative 10? Okay, and we say negative 10. Why? Because 35 is bigger. So she's exactly right. 2x equals negative 10. And Connor, what would I do last?
You have to divide by 2.
Uh-huh.
Both sides.
Very good. And what'd you get?
5.
You're close.
Negative 5.
Why would it be negative 5? How many negatives do you have? Just one, so that's odd. So my answer is negative. -5. All right, guys, good job. Okay, I want you to try this next one over here. Okay, I'm gonna walk around and check. It's a little tricky. I'm gonna give you a heads up on it. And the first 2 people to get this one right get a piece of candy. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and pause here and work through this problem together. Okay, -4 minus 8, those are same sign. So it's gonna be -12n plus 17 equals 23. Okay, we minus 17, -12n equals 6. Josh, what am I going to do on this step?
You're going to divide and make that like a fraction.
Yeah.
It's gonna cancel out.
Uh-huh.
Cancel out, and then it's gonna be 6/12, and you simplify it to 1/2.
Yes. So you did figure it out. It was just, okay. Very good. So n equals -1/2. Okay? So in our brains, we know that 6/12 reduces to 1/2. However, when we're thinking this has got to be a whole number, it's like our brains just flip it automatically. We just flip it into a whole number. And it's just really, guys, you are not alone, because all day today, this will be the problem, okay, that gets everybody. All right?
Hold on. So it's basically 6 divided by 12 equals.
Correct. You just reduce it.
Yep.
You just reduce the fraction. All right? Good job, guys. Hey, that was good. You guys definitely gave it a good effort. That was great. Okay, one more slide. One more slide. All right, we're going to do these last 2 problems, and it's just more of that practice of combining like terms, doing our opposite operations, and solving for x. All right, go ahead and solve both of these. I'm going to walk around and work with you guys more individually. Work through them on your own. When you have an answer, compare them with your table buddies, and we'll work through these 2 together, and then we'll call it. All right, Nick, what did you do first on the first equation?
Okay, so first I did 4x, and then the -8x.
Yep, what'd you get?
I got -4.
Perfect.
Then you bring down the plus 20.
Uh-huh.
And then you make it equal to -32.
Yep,
Then you make the plus 20 minus 20.
yep,
And then you cross out on the left side, and on the right side, you add it because it's the same signs. It'll be
Yep.
52.
yep,
Then the 52 would be divided by 4.
yep.
And then that would equal 13. But it would be it's positive 13 because it's the same signs.
Yep. Perfect. How's it look, guys? Okay, so since I had 2 negatives, I divided. It needed to be a positive answer. Okay, on the next one over here, we had a little bit of combining on the right side too, didn't we?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Micah, what'd you do?
Okay, so I did my right turn first, so
Yep,
-2n plus 4n equals 2n plus 4 equals 23 minus 5.
uh-huh,
And then I did 23 minus 5 equals,
yep,
4 minus 4,
yep,
and then minus 4 on the other side equals 14. 2n equals 14, and then you divide 2 by first side, and then n equals 7.
perfect.
So on our whole way, we don't do something equations.
Okay, so yeah, so this is half of the lesson. So we're gonna start your homework problems. I'm about to glance through and see which questions, but the combining like terms ones you can do. If it's distributive property, we haven't learned that part yet, and the triangles we haven't learned yet. We'll learn those tomorrow. But for today, that'll be everything we're learning for part 1.